All right, let's just jump right in. If you've taken a peek at your bank statement lately, you've probably noticed something. That glorious golden age of cheap streaming? Yeah, it's pretty much over. It feels like every single service is getting more expensive. So the big question is, how on earth did we get here? And, maybe more importantly, what can we do about it?
I mean, does this sound familiar? You get that one email, and then another one, and all of a sudden, your monthly bill has just crept up, and then up again. It really makes you stop and wonder, now how did we all end up paying so much? Was that whole cheap introductory phase just too good to be true from the start?
I mean, just look at Disney+. Late last year, tons of subscribers got an email telling them their annual plan was jumping all the way up to $140. And listen, that was just one of the many price hikes we saw across the board.
And it's not just Disney, not by a long shot. Look at Netflix. Their most affordable ad-free plan? Gone. Poof. Amazon Prime Video. That's up. Even the live TV streaming services like YouTube TV have had these massive hikes. So this isn't some kind of fluke, right? This is a total industry-wide shift.
Okay, so what is really going on here? To get to the bottom of the why, we actually have to go all the way back to the beginning, to the one company that pretty much wrote the entire playbook for streaming in the first place. You guessed it, Netflix. For most of its history, the company's entire business model was built on one super simple idea: get more subscribers. That was it. If they wanted to make more money, they really only had two choices: either add more users or jack up the prices for the ones they already had.
And hey, for a really long time, that strategy worked like a charm. But, and this is a big but, it came at a huge cost, creating this massive growth problem that would, well, eventually change absolutely everything. And the sheer scale of their investment, it was just staggering. By 2020, Netflix had taken on nearly $15 billion in debt. Why? Well, it was all to build this gigantic library of original content. They didn't want to have to rely on shows they didn't own, like The Office or Friends. It was a huge, high-stakes bet on just constant, never-ending growth.
And for a while, man, that bet really paid off. You can see the growth was steady through 2015, it kept on rising, and then boom, the pandemic hits in 2020, giving them their best year ever. But then in 2022, the unthinkable happened. For the first time in its history, Netflix actually started to lose subscribers. The growth engine had completely stalled out.
And as Lucas Shaw from Bloomberg News put it so well, there are only so many people in the population, right? Even if you got everyone, there is a ceiling to that. It's just simple math. You can't just keep adding subscribers forever. Netflix had finally hit its ceiling, and they knew they had to find a brand new way to grow.
And this meant their entire strategy had to do a 180. For years, Netflix publicly said they weren't worried about password sharing. In fact, they kind of saw it as free marketing. But once they slammed into that growth ceiling, they suddenly looked at the millions and millions of people sharing passwords and saw their only real path to new growth. And so, they started cracking down hard.
But here's the thing. This wasn't just a Netflix problem. The entire industry was about to pivot its whole business model, and they were all about to follow in the footsteps of a different kind of streamer.
See, while Netflix was completely obsessed with just chasing subscriber numbers, another company was playing a totally different game. And quietly, they were proving out a much more traditional and, frankly, more sustainable way to make money.
The difference between their models, it was night and day. Netflix was purely subscription-based. Hulu, on the other hand, had a hybrid model right from the start, combining subscriptions with ads. And get this, their ad-supported tier was actually their most lucrative. For them, it wasn't about adding subscribers at any cost. It was about making money from every single viewer.
And guess what? As growth started to slow down everywhere, the whole industry started to look a heck of a lot more like Hulu. All of a sudden, Netflix, Disney+, Amazon, Max, everybody started rolling out their own cheaper ad-supported plans to try and bring in more revenue.
Okay, so with ads in the mix and higher prices all around, you'd think these companies are all just rolling in the dough now, right? I mean, it seems like the logical next step.
Well, the reality is not yet, not even close for most of them. See, a lot of these services are still pretty new. They spent billions, literally billions of dollars, trying to basically condense 15 years of Netflix's growth into just 3 to 5 years. That was an incredibly expensive gamble, and they're all still trying to dig themselves out of that hole and pay off that initial investment.
So, that's the story from the company's side of things, but what does all this, the debt, the subscriber losses, the ads, what does it all mean for us? How do we actually navigate this new, kind of weird and definitely more expensive world?
Well, it's led to the rise of a whole new type of customer, what the industry calls a serial churner. And this is someone who doesn't just stick with the service out of loyalty. Nope. They actively manage their subscriptions, hopping between different platforms based on what they want to watch right now.
And this isn't just some fringe behavior either. According to the analytics group Antenna, a full 1 in 5 subscribers in 2023 was a serial churner. That's huge. It just goes to show that people are getting way more strategic about where their streaming dollars are going.
So when you boil it all down, you really have 3 main strategies you can choose from. You can be the loyalist, subscribe to everything and just accept the cost. You can go full serial churner, constantly hopping around. Or, and this is what a lot of people do, you can take a hybrid approach. Keep 1 or 2 core services you just can't live without, and then churn all the rest.
And this quote right here is a perfect example of that hybrid strategy in action. You have your core services, maybe for you that's Netflix and Max, and then for the others, like a Paramount Plus or a Peacock, you just sign on when there's a specific show or movie you want to see. And then you sign right back off.
And, what's really at the heart of all this is getting back the very thing that made us cut the cord on cable all those years ago. It's the ability to choose what you pay for and to be in control of your own media diet.
Let's just be honest with ourselves. Things have definitely changed. Streaming is no longer that simple, super cheap alternative it used to be. We're absolutely in a new, kind of weird, and for sure more expensive era of streaming. So ultimately, our relationship with streaming just has to evolve. The old set-it-and-forget-it days are over. Which brings us to the final, and I think the most important question. In this brand new landscape, what's your strategy? How are you going to make your streaming diet work for you?